Think Like the Rich: How Millionaires View and Use Money. Written by Ronnie Rowland. Published by Growth Literacy Lounge. Money is not the starting point of wealth, thinking is. Without the right mindset, even a windfall can vanish. With the right mindset, even modest resources can grow into lasting abundance. This is why some people can turn a small opportunity into a thriving fortune, while others watch larger opportunities slip through their fingers. The difference isn't always talent, education, or even effort. It's perspective. As Zig Ziglar once said, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. The wealthy have already started, not just in action, but in how they see money, use it, and make it work for them. They operate by principles that turn every dollar into a tool, every decision into a strategy, and every setback into a lesson that compounds over time. Most people are trained to think like employees of money, earning it, spending it, and repeating the cycle. Millionaires think like employers of money. They assign every dollar a job, track its performance, and ensure it keeps working whether they are or not. They understand that wealth is not built in a straight line but in a network of choices, habits, and systems that reinforce each other. This book is not about chasing luck or imitating lifestyles. It is about rewiring the way you think about money so that it becomes a partner in building your future. You will see how millionaires approach earning, investing, protecting, and multiplying wealth, and how you can apply the same principles starting from where you are right now. The journey begins in the mind, and it starts here. Chapter 1: The Mindset Divide: Why Millionaires Think Differently. Two neighbors earn the same salary, live on the same street, and start their careers at the same time. 10 years later, one still worries about bills, drives the same car, and wonders why success feels out of reach. The other has multiple income streams, owns appreciating assets, and enjoys the quiet confidence of financial stability. The gap between them isn't luck, a secret inheritance, or a lottery win. It's mindset. Millionaires approach money with a perspective most people never learn. For them, money isn't a scarce prize to be guarded until it's spent. It's a tool designed to create more tools. They view each dollar like a seed capable of being eaten now or planted for a future harvest. Those who spend every seed on immediate comfort may enjoy the moment, but they forfeit the field of abundance that could have been theirs. The way you think about money shapes every choice you make with it. If you see money as something that comes in and goes out, you'll treat it passively, waiting for the next paycheck. If you see it as an active force, a worker you hire, you'll give it tasks, measure its output, and make sure it never sits idle. This shift in perspective turns money from a fleeting possession into a multiplying resource. Imagine holding a hammer. One person hangs it on the wall as a decoration, proud to own it but never using it. Another builds a house with it. Both possess the same tool, yet one ends with shelter, equity, and security, while the other owns a shiny object collecting dust. Money works the same way. Its value lies not in its presence but in its purpose. Those who remain trapped in the scarcity mindset often make decisions that feel safe but are actually costly over time. They avoid investments because they fear losing money, not realizing that avoiding risk entirely guarantees the slow erosion of their financial potential. They prioritize comfort purchases, upgrading cars, electronics, and vacations over assets that could quietly build wealth in the background. By contrast, millionaires are willing to live with temporary limitation, knowing the payoff later will far exceed the sacrifice now. Shifting into a wealth-building mindset requires challenging long-held beliefs. If you were raised to see money as something earned only through constant labor, the idea that it can work independently may feel unrealistic. If you were taught that debt is always bad, the notion of leveraging borrowed capital to acquire cash-flowing assets might seem reckless. But the wealthy understand that principles, not fears, must guide financial choices. They don't chase risk blindly, nor do they hide from it. They evaluate, calculate, and act with precision. This mental divide also extends to learning. Millionaires treat financial literacy as a living skill, one that evolves with markets, technology, and law. They seek mentors, read voraciously, and treat education as a continuous investment. Those stuck on the other side of the divide often stop learning about money once they've mastered basic budgeting, leaving themselves unequipped to recognize or seize new opportunities. Bridging this gap isn't about imitating every move a wealthy person makes. It's about adopting the core principles that guide their choices. Start by asking, what would it look like if every dollar I had was an employee? That means giving your money assignments: invest here, acquire that asset, cover this liability, then tracking whether those assignments generate returns. Idle dollars, like idle workers, cost you more than you realize. The divide between the wealthy and everyone else is real, but it's not fixed. The choice to cross it begins in the mind. When you start treating money as a builder, a worker, and a partner, rather than a fleeting reward, you step onto the same path millionaires walk every day. The road is long, but each intentional step turns the divide into a bridge. Wealth begins with mindset, not money. Treat every dollar as a worker with a job to do. Purpose beats possession every time. Where in your financial life is money sitting idle, waiting for you to put it to work? Identify one expense you can redirect this month into an asset or investment, no matter how small. Chapter 2: The Tool versus Trophy Principle. Redefining what money is. Picture a master craftsman holding a chisel. In skilled hands, that chisel can carve intricate designs, shape raw material into art, and create lasting value. Yet in someone else's possession, it might be locked away in a drawer, admired but never used. Money is no different. For the wealthy, it's a tool, something to shape, direct, and multiply. For others, it's a trophy, a symbol of achievement displayed until it's gradually diminished by expenses and indulgences. When money is treated as a trophy, it often becomes a measure of status rather than a means to build. The mindset says, I've earned it, so I deserve to enjoy it now. This leads to purchases that announce success but quietly erode future potential. Cars depreciate, clothes wear out, gadgets become obsolete, and vacations fade into memory. None of these are wrong in themselves, but when they replace investments, they rob you of compounding growth. The wealthy view money as a versatile, obedient tool that works on their behalf. They understand that each dollar has the potential to create more dollars if assigned the right job. This job might be buying shares in a company, funding a rental property, acquiring a stake in a small business, or even paying for specialized training that increases earning capacity. In each case, the money is put into motion with the intent of returning with reinforcements. A trophy mindset often focuses on preservation rather than growth. People who view money this way may hesitate to invest because they fear losing their hard-earned gains. Yet this very caution can be their undoing. A chisel left unused rusts, money left idle loses value to inflation. The wealthy avoid this trap by accepting that every tool, no matter how valuable, is meant to be used, not just admired. They don't recklessly throw it at the first opportunity, but they don't let it gather dust either. To adopt the tool mindset, it helps to think of money as a team of workers you've hired. You wouldn't let employees stand around doing nothing while the business stalled. You would give them clear assignments, set expectations, and monitor results. The wealthy treat their capital the same way. Every dollar has a role, and that role must contribute to the broader goal of wealth building. Money without a mission is wasted potential. This perspective also changes how the wealthy handle windfalls. An unexpected bonus, inheritance, or large sale isn't an invitation to splurge but an opportunity to expand their toolbox. They might use part of it for lifestyle upgrades, but the majority is deployed to acquire more income-generating assets. This approach ensures that today's gain funds tomorrow's stability and growth. The tool versus trophy principle is visible in small, everyday choices as well. Someone with a trophy mindset might finance a new luxury car the moment they receive a raise, locking themselves into higher monthly expenses. Someone with a tool mindset might instead use the same raise to pay down debt, invest in index funds, or purchase equipment that enables a side business. Over time, these decisions create a widening gap between the two approaches, a gap that compounds until it becomes a chasm. Shifting from trophy to tool thinking requires conscious redirection. Each time you receive money, whether it's a paycheck, a gift, or unexpected profit, pause before spending. Ask, what job can I give this dollar that will bring back more dollars? The more often you choose to deploy money as a tool, the more tools you acquire, and the more value you can build. The wealthy understand that symbols of wealth are fragile. True financial strength lies not in what is displayed, but in what is quietly working behind the scenes. A trophy sits still and gathers dust. A tool shapes the future. The difference between the two isn't in the amount you have, but in the way you use it. And that choice is always yours. Money as a trophy fades. Money as a tool multiplies. Idle money loses value over time. Assign every dollar a productive role. How much of your money is currently displayed as a trophy, rather than working as a tool? Redirect one discretionary purchase this month into an income-producing asset, however small. Chapter 3: From Earners to Architects, Designing Wealth Through Value Creation. An earner works for money. An architect designs systems that create it. The difference isn't just in skill or intelligence, it's in how each views the source of wealth. An earner's focus is on finding ways to increase personal output, working longer hours, negotiating higher pay, or taking on extra projects. An architect focuses on creating something that continues to produce value long after the initial effort is made. While the earner asks, "How can I earn more?" the architect asks, "How can I design something that earns for me?" This distinction shapes the very foundation of financial outcomes. Earning alone has limits. Time, energy, and even specialized expertise can only scale so far before reaching a ceiling. Architects understand that to build lasting wealth, their output must detach from their direct labor. They think in terms of structures, businesses, products, intellectual property, and investments that operate independently once built. These structures are designed to outlive the effort it took to create them. Consider the difference between a freelancer and the owner of a digital platform. The freelancer can raise rates, work faster, and add clients, but every dollar earned requires active time and presence. The platform owner invests upfront in development, marketing, and user acquisition, but once the system is in place, it can generate revenue continuously, even while they're sleeping. One path trades time for money, the other designs an ongoing value engine. Value creation is at the heart of this shift. Wealthy architects obsess over the question, what problem can I solve for many people at once? The answer might be a product, a service, a piece of technology, or even an idea packaged and distributed at scale. Their focus isn't just on creating something good, it's on creating something useful enough that people are willing to exchange money for it repeatedly. This repeatable exchange is the foundation of scalable wealth. This approach also changes the way risk is perceived. Earners tend to see risk as a threat to their income. If a job is lost or a client leaves, the earnings stop immediately. Architects see risk as a step in building an asset. They know that designing a system involves uncertainty, but once built, the payoff can be exponential. Even a failed project teaches lessons that refine the next design. Over time, each attempt builds skill, network, and insight, which in turn fuel future successes. Shifting from earner to architect begins with identifying areas where your work could be converted into a system or product. It might be as simple as documenting your process and turning it into a course, automating a service with technology, or creating a partnership that allows revenue to continue without your constant presence. The key is to stop measuring progress only in terms of immediate income and start measuring it in terms of assets that generate ongoing returns. Architects also think beyond the first layer of value. A book can generate sales, but it can also lead to speaking engagements, licensing deals, and consulting opportunities. A property can produce rental income, but it can also appreciate in value, be refinanced for capital, or serve as collateral for another investment. Every creation is designed with multiple streams of potential output, ensuring that each structure is more than the sum of its parts. Ultimately, the architect mindset is about moving from being the source of value to building sources of value. It is about creating something once that continues to pay you many times. The wealthy live by this principle, and it is why their financial stability grows with each passing year, even when they are not directly working for it. If you want to join them, stop asking how you can work more hours. Start asking how you can build something that works for you. Earners trade time for money. Architects design systems that create it. Scalable wealth comes from structures that produce value repeatedly. Assets should be built to generate multiple streams of returns. What could you build today that would continue to earn for you tomorrow without your constant effort? Choose one skill or service you offer and brainstorm 3 ways to turn it into a repeatable, scalable asset. Chapter 4: The Asset Priority: Making Money Work While You Don't. A farmer receives a basket of seeds. One choice is to grind them into flour for immediate bread. The other is to plant them, wait, and harvest far more than he started with. The first option satisfies hunger today but leaves nothing for tomorrow. The second requires patience but creates abundance. This is how the wealthy approach assets. They treat every dollar as a seed, and their priority is to plant those seeds where they will grow, not consume them at the first opportunity. Assets are the engines of wealth. They are things that put money in your pocket, often with minimal daily effort once established. This can include income-generating real estate, dividend-paying stocks, profitable businesses, intellectual property, or even lending that produces interest. Liabilities, in contrast, take money out of your pocket: loans on depreciating items, luxury purchases that require maintenance, or subscriptions that add no value beyond fleeting enjoyment. The wealthy make a habit of acquiring assets first, allowing those assets to later pay for the luxuries others rush to buy directly. The difference is in the order of operations. Many people earn income and immediately allocate it toward living expenses and consumer goods. If anything is left over, they might invest a small amount. Millionaires flip this process. They acquire or build assets first, then use the returns from those assets to fund their lifestyle. The result is a growing base of income-generating resources that make each year more financially stable than the last. This priority extends beyond personal purchases to strategic decisions. When faced with a windfall, such as a bonus or inheritance, those with a consumption-first mindset think of upgrades, a bigger home, a newer car, a more expensive vacation. The wealthy see the same windfall as a chance to accelerate asset acquisition. They might buy a rental property, invest in a business, or expand an existing income stream. These assets then produce recurring returns that can fund those luxuries indefinitely without depleting the original capital. Assets also have the advantage of working when you can't. A job can be lost, but rental income still arrives. An illness might stop active work, but dividends continue to pay out. Assets provide resilience, turning money into an independent force that functions even in the absence of your daily involvement. This is why millionaires spend so much time, effort, and capital acquiring them. They understand that freedom doesn't come from a large paycheck. It comes from the ability to live well without relying on one. Prioritizing assets requires discipline in the face of cultural pressure. The world rewards visible consumption far more than it rewards silent accumulation. A new car draws admiration. A new index fund purchase draws none. But the compounding effect of consistent asset investment is invisible at first, until it suddenly becomes undeniable. 10 years of steady, disciplined acquisition can produce a level of financial independence that short-term spending will never match. The path to building assets begins with understanding what you can acquire now, no matter how small. This might mean starting with fractional shares of stock, buying used equipment to launch a side business, or purchasing a single rental unit instead of a luxury condo. Every asset acquired is another worker on your financial team, producing returns that can be reinvested to acquire even more assets. In time, the returns from these assets can cover your living expenses entirely. At that point, your paycheck becomes optional, and your time becomes your own. This is the quiet power of the asset priority. It transforms effort into independence, purchases into production, and money into freedom. Each seed planted grows into a harvest, and with every season, the field becomes richer. That is how the wealthy stay wealthy and why their focus will always remain on planting before consuming. Assets put money in your pocket. Liabilities take it out. Prioritize acquiring assets before funding lifestyle upgrades. The goal is for assets to cover living expenses entirely. If your paycheck stopped today, which of your current assets would continue to generate income for you? Redirect one discretionary expense into the purchase or creation of an income-producing asset this month. Chapter 5: The power of patience, delayed gratification as a wealth multiplier. In a famous psychological experiment, children were given a marshmallow and told they could eat it now or wait a short time to receive two. Some devoured it instantly. Others endured the wait, and their reward doubled. Decades later, follow-up studies showed the patient children tended to achieve greater success in various areas of life, including finances. The lesson is simple but profound: patience multiplies rewards, while impatience consumes them. Wealthy individuals practice this principle instinctively. They understand that money spent now is money that loses the chance to grow. Every dollar can be either consumed immediately for a fleeting pleasure or invested to generate lasting value. The wealthy consistently choose the latter, often delaying personal luxuries until those luxuries can be purchased entirely from the returns on investments rather than from the investments themselves. This approach transforms temporary sacrifices into permanent advantages. Most people, however, live in an environment that encourages the opposite. Advertising, social media, and cultural expectations all promote instant gratification: buy now, upgrade now, enjoy now. The result is a constant drain on financial resources and a cycle of dependency on the next paycheck. Even modest discipline in delaying gratification can break this cycle and redirect money toward compounding growth. Patience in wealth building isn't passive. It is active, intentional restraint with a clear goal in mind. The wealthy know precisely what they're waiting for: the moment when an asset's returns can fund both continued investment and desired lifestyle improvements. They may drive an older car, live in a modest home, or skip certain luxuries for years, not because they can't afford them, but because they refuse to erode capital that is still working to expand their financial foundation. Consider two people who each receive a $10,000 bonus. One immediately spends it on a vacation, returning home with great memories but no lasting financial change. The other invested in a dividend-paying fund that yields an average of 8% annually. In 10 years, with reinvestment, that initial amount grows to more than $21,500, enough to fund multiple vacations indefinitely without touching the principal. The difference lies not in the amount received, but in the willingness to wait for the greater reward. This principle applies to more than just purchases. Patience shapes investment strategies, career decisions, and business growth. A hasty investor chases quick returns, often buying at highs and selling at lows in reaction to fear or excitement. A patient investor holds quality assets through market cycles, allowing compounding to do its quiet, consistent work. A rushed entrepreneur might cash out early for a smaller gain, while a patient one reinvests profits to scale, eventually achieving far greater success. Delayed gratification also builds discipline, which becomes a form of wealth in itself. The ability to resist unnecessary spending strengthens decision-making across all areas of life. It trains the mind to evaluate long-term outcomes over short-term impulses, a habit that compounds just like money does. Each time patience wins, the financial position improves, creating a reinforcing cycle where waiting becomes easier because the rewards become larger. The wealthy are not immune to desire, but they channel it strategically. They allow themselves to want, but they also allow the waiting to work in their favor. When they finally acquire something, it is often from a position where its cost does not diminish their ability to create more wealth. By this point, the purchase is not a setback but a sustainable enjoyment supported by their financial engine. The power of patience lies in understanding that every delayed indulgence is an investment in a larger future. Just as the child who waited for the second marshmallow doubled their reward, you can double, triple, or even multiply your financial returns by resisting the pull of the immediate. In the long game of wealth, time is the most loyal ally, and patience is the skill that allows you to harness it. Delayed gratification turns temporary sacrifice into lasting advantage. Patience is active discipline aimed at compounding returns. Waiting until assets pay for luxuries preserves and grows wealth. What purchase could you postpone today so that future investment returns could cover it entirely? Identify one discretionary purchase you plan to make in the next 3 months and commit to delaying it until it can be funded entirely from investment income. Chapter 6: Systemic Wealth, Thinking in Networks, Not Paychecks. Imagine a single faucet filling a bucket. If the faucet slows or stops, the bucket empties quickly. Now imagine a network of interconnected pipes drawing from multiple sources, springs, reservoirs, and rainwater. Even if one source dries up, the others keep the water flowing. This is the difference between relying on a single paycheck and building systemic wealth. Millionaires design financial ecosystems where money flows through multiple channels, each feeding and supporting the others. The average person often sees income as linear: work produces pay, pay covers expenses, and any surplus might be saved or spent. This creates a fragile system because it depends on a single point of failure. Lose the job, the contract, or the client, and the income stops. Wealthy individuals think differently. They design systems in which one stream of income can generate or support others, creating a self-reinforcing network of cash flow. The goal is resilience, not reliance. In these systems, assets are interconnected. A rental property produces income, part of which funds stock investments. Those investments yield dividends that finance a small business venture. The profits from that business might then be used to acquire more real estate, which increases both rental income and equity. Each piece strengthens the others, creating a cycle where the wealth-building process accelerates over time without requiring the constant trade of hours for dollars. This approach also allows for strategic use of resources. When one area of the system overperforms, the excess can be redirected to bolster underperforming areas or to seed entirely new streams. If a business sees a surge in profits, those funds can be invested in a long-term asset, insulating the system from future fluctuations in the business itself. In this way, the system becomes dynamic, adapting to conditions while maintaining its overall growth trajectory. Systemic wealth thinking also embraces the principle of compounding at a structural level. It's not just about reinvesting dividends or profits, but about reinvesting them in a way that creates more sources of income. Instead of a single compounding investment, the wealthy operate multiple compounding engines at once, each feeding into and accelerating the others. Over years or decades, this creates exponential growth that a single income source could never match. The resilience of this networked approach is perhaps its greatest strength. Economic downturns, market shifts, or disruptions in one industry may damage a single stream, but the system as a whole continues to function. While someone dependent on one paycheck might face immediate crisis, a person with systemic wealth can adjust and continue moving forward, often using downturns to acquire assets at a discount. In this way, even setbacks become opportunities to strengthen the overall network. Building systemic wealth begins with a shift in perspective. Instead of asking, "How can I earn more?" ask, "How can this income create another source of income?" Each stream should have the potential to branch into others. This requires patience, planning, and often the humility to start small, but over time the interconnected structure grows stronger than the sum of its parts. Eventually, the system reaches a point where it produces far more than any single stream could, creating financial security that is both scalable and sustainable. The wealthy do not view income sources as isolated wins. They see them as components of a larger design, each piece playing its role in a constantly evolving network. The aim is not to have the most impressive single stream, but to build a resilient web that keeps producing under any conditions. A paycheck is a faucet, a wealth system is an endless network of flowing water. The sooner you start connecting the pipes, the sooner the flow becomes unstoppable. Relying on one income source creates vulnerability, systems create resilience. Income streams should be interconnected and self-reinforcing. Systemic wealth grows by using each stream to create new streams. Which of your current income sources could be leveraged to create another stream of income? Choose one income stream you have now and outline a plan to use part of it to create a second, independent source of revenue. Chapter 7: The Compounding Effect: How Time Turns Small Moves into Empires. A single snowflake melts quickly. But as snowflakes accumulate, they form layers, and those layers build into drifts that reshape the landscape. Compounding works the same way. On its own, a small action or investment seems insignificant, but repeated over time, it can create outcomes far beyond the scale of the individual effort. The wealthy understand this principle deeply, and they harness it relentlessly. Compounding is the process by which gains generate additional gains, creating exponential growth. In financial terms, it's earning interest on both the original principal and the accumulated interest from previous periods. But the principle extends beyond money. It applies to skills, relationships, and opportunities. The wealthy apply compounding across all areas of their lives, allowing small, consistent inputs to yield disproportionate rewards. The most famous illustration is the penny doubling scenario. If you start with 1 cent and double it every day for 31 days, you end up with over $10 million. While such perfect doubling is unrealistic in practice, the example captures the essence of compounding. Small beginnings can produce massive results if growth is continuous and uninterrupted. The key is not the size of the initial amount, but the discipline to keep it working over time. Where most people stumble is in underestimating the power of time. They focus on quick wins, impatient for results, and in doing so, they interrupt the compounding process. Selling investments prematurely, abandoning a business idea before it matures, or failing to reinvest earnings all cut the cycle short. Millionaires, in contrast, protect their compounding engines. They avoid unnecessary withdrawals, resist the temptation to cash out early, and view time as an ally rather than an obstacle. Compounding also benefits from reinvestment. When returns are fed back into the original source, growth accelerates. A dividend reinvestment plan, for example, uses payouts from stocks to buy more shares, which in turn produce larger future dividends. Over decades, this creates a snowball effect, where the bulk of the final value comes from the accumulated gains rather than the original contributions. The wealthy build their strategies around this principle, ensuring that their assets continuously feed themselves. Beyond money, compounding applies to knowledge. Reading daily may seem like a small habit, but over years, the cumulative insights can shape decision-making, uncover opportunities, and prevent costly mistakes. Relationships compound as well. Consistently nurturing a professional network can lead to collaborations and deals years after the initial connection was made. In every case, the principle is the same: small, repeated actions create exponential outcomes when allowed to accumulate. The challenge for most people is patience. Compounding rewards the disciplined, not the impulsive. In the early stages, progress appears slow and the results unimpressive. But there is a tipping point where growth accelerates, often dramatically. The wealthy are willing to endure the slow climb to reach that point, knowing that once momentum builds, it requires far less effort to maintain. The snowball, once rolling, gathers speed and mass on its own. To benefit fully from compounding, consistency is non-negotiable. Skipping contributions, delaying reinvestment, or making erratic choices weakens the effect. The wealthy commit to regular, predictable actions, monthly investments, continual learning, systematic reinvestment, because they understand that time works best with steady input. Over years, this discipline turns modest beginnings into formidable assets. Compounding is not magic, though its results can seem magical. It is the predictable outcome of time, discipline, and reinvestment working together. The sooner you start, and the longer you stay committed, the more powerful it becomes. Every dollar, skill, and relationship you nurture consistently can grow into something far greater than its origin. The secret is to start small, stay steady, and let time do its quiet, relentless work. Compounding creates exponential growth from small, consistent actions. Time and reinvestment are the essential ingredients. Discipline in the early, slow stages leads to explosive growth later. What small, consistent action could you commit to today that, if maintained, would transform your finances in 10 years? Set up an automatic contribution to an investment or savings account and commit to never interrupting it, regardless of market conditions. Chapter 8: Lifelong Financial Literacy, Sharpening the Millionaire Mindset. A tree that stops growing begins to wither. The same is true for financial knowledge. The markets shift, laws change, opportunities emerge, and risks evolve. Those who stop learning about money inevitably fall behind, relying on outdated strategies in a world that has moved on. The wealthy avoid this trap by treating financial literacy as a lifelong pursuit. It is not a subject to be mastered once and filed away. It is a skill to be sharpened continuously. Financial literacy goes beyond understanding how to balance a budget or open a savings account. It encompasses the ability to interpret market trends, evaluate investments, navigate tax laws, and assess risk. It also involves strategic thinking, knowing when to move, when to wait, and how to position resources for maximum advantage. The wealthy see every change in the financial environment not as a threat but as a potential advantage for those prepared to act. This mindset requires humility. Even those who have built significant wealth acknowledge that they do not know everything. They seek out new information, attend seminars, read books, and consult experts in fields ranging from real estate to tax strategy to emerging technologies. Their goal is to keep sharpening their edge so they can adapt quickly when circumstances shift. In contrast, those who assume they already know enough often miss out on opportunities simply because they didn't recognize them. A crucial part of lifelong financial literacy is understanding how interconnected different aspects of finance are. Tax laws influence investment returns, which in turn affect cash flow and debt strategy. Changes in global markets can ripple into local business conditions, impacting everything from property values to currency strength. The wealthy stay informed across these interconnected areas because they know that ignoring one can weaken the entire structure. Staying current also means challenging old beliefs. A strategy that worked a decade ago may now be outdated or less effective. The wealthy are willing to update their playbook, even if it means abandoning familiar methods. This adaptability allows them to pivot when regulations change, when industries evolve, or when disruptive innovations create new winners and losers. The ability to shift without losing momentum is a hallmark of their success. Financial literacy also requires discernment. The wealthy encounter no shortage of opinions, trends, and predictions, but they are careful about whose advice they follow. They value sources with proven track records and data-backed insights over sensational promises. This filters out noise and focuses their attention on actionable information. It also prevents them from making decisions driven by hype or fear, two forces that derail many otherwise sound financial plans. The process of learning itself compounds over time. A single concept understood today can influence dozens of decisions over the next decade, each building upon the last. The wealthy know that every new piece of knowledge is a tool in their financial toolkit, and the more tools they have, the more problems they can solve and opportunities they can seize. This cumulative advantage is why their decision-making often appears sharper and more strategic. They are drawing from a deeper, broader base of understanding. Ultimately, lifelong financial literacy is not about chasing every new trend. It is about maintaining a posture of curiosity, commitment, and discipline in learning. The wealthy remain students of the game, not just players. They read, listen, observe, and most importantly, apply what they learn. This ongoing refinement of knowledge ensures they are not only prepared for the present but positioned for the future. Financial literacy must be continuously updated to remain effective. Adaptability is as important as knowledge in a changing financial world. Strategic learning compounds in value over time. What is one area of finance you know is important but have not studied deeply in the last year? Choose one book, course, or seminar on a financial topic you need to strengthen and commit to completing it within the next 30 days. Chapter 9: Risk as Leverage, Calculating, Managing, and Profiting from Uncertainty. To most people, risk feels like a cliff's edge. One wrong step and everything is lost. To the wealthy, it is more like a calculated jump onto a moving platform. There is danger, yes, but there is also the potential to land in a better position than before. The difference lies in preparation, perspective, and execution. The wealthy do not avoid risk entirely. They shape it, measure it, and use it as a lever to multiply opportunity. Risk is often misunderstood as something purely negative, a force to be minimized at all costs. In reality, risk is simply uncertainty about outcomes. That uncertainty can lead to loss, but it can just as easily lead to gain. Those who fear it blindly miss the chance to benefit from it. Those who chase it recklessly often end up with unnecessary losses. Millionaires position themselves in between, accepting risk only when it is informed, intentional, and managed. The first step in this process is understanding the nature of the risk. Not all risks are created equal. Some are speculative gambles, where the odds are unclear and the downside is steep. Others are calculated risks, where the potential outcomes can be reasonably estimated, the downside limited, and the upside meaningful. The wealthy focus on the latter, ensuring that even if a risk fails, it does not destroy their financial foundation. This is why they rarely bet everything on a single venture. Preparation is critical. Before taking on a risk, the wealthy gather information, study the variables, and anticipate possible scenarios. They use data, expert advice, and historical trends to inform their decisions. This preparation reduces uncertainty and allows them to make moves that others might shy away from. They know that risk without knowledge is gambling, but risk with knowledge is strategy. Management comes next. The wealthy rarely enter a risk position without safeguards. In investing, this might mean diversification to spread exposure. In business, it could mean testing an idea on a small scale before committing fully. In real estate, it might involve securing long-term tenants before acquiring a property. These measures do not eliminate risk, but they reduce its potential impact while preserving the chance for gain. Another key factor is timing. The wealthy understand that risk is not static, its level changes with circumstances. Entering an investment at the wrong time can turn a calculated risk into a losing proposition. They watch for favorable conditions, market dips, undervalued assets, emerging trends, when the upside potential outweighs the downside. This patience in waiting for the right moment often makes the difference between success and failure. Importantly, the wealthy also know how to exit. Taking on a risk requires a clear plan for when to pull back, whether due to reaching a profit target, encountering unfavorable changes, or hitting a preset loss limit. This prevents emotional decision-making and protects capital for future opportunities. Risk is treated as a temporary position, not a permanent condition. When managed well, risk becomes leverage. It allows for gains that are disproportionate to the resources committed. This is why many millionaires use borrowed capital for investments, partnerships for ventures, and scaling strategies for businesses. These approaches amplify results without requiring the full amount of resources upfront, provided they are executed with discipline. The truth is that avoiding all risk is itself a risk, a slow erosion of opportunity and potential wealth. Inflation, market shifts, and competition all carry risks of their own. By learning to identify, prepare for, and manage uncertainty, the wealthy transform what most people fear into a powerful ally. Risk is not the enemy, uncalculated risk is. When approached with clarity and control, it becomes the lever that moves you closer to financial independence. Risk is uncertainty, and it can be shaped into opportunity. Preparation, management, and timing turn risk from danger into leverage. Avoiding all risk carries its own long-term costs. What calculated risk could you take in the next year that, if it succeeded, would significantly improve your financial position? Identify one opportunity you've avoided due to fear of loss, research it fully, and map out how to reduce the downside while preserving the upside. Chapter 10: The Wealth Protection Code, Taxes, Legal Structures, and Defensive Plays. Building wealth is only half the challenge, keeping it is the other. Many people focus entirely on generating income and acquiring assets, yet overlook the forces that can quietly erode what they've built. Taxes, lawsuits, market downturns, and unforeseen expenses can dismantle a fortune faster than it was created. The wealthy understand this reality, which is why they prioritize protection as much as growth. They operate under a code, preserve the foundation so it can continue to support expansion. Taxes are often the largest ongoing expense for high earners, yet many treat them as unavoidable rather than manageable. The wealthy know the tax code is a system of incentives. It rewards certain behaviors, investing in real estate, funding retirement accounts, starting businesses, creating jobs, because these actions stimulate the economy. By aligning their strategies with these incentives, they reduce their tax burden legally and significantly. This is not avoidance, it is optimization. Every dollar saved in taxes is a dollar that can be reinvested to grow further. Legal structures are another pillar of wealth protection. Assets held in personal accounts are vulnerable to personal liabilities, such as lawsuits or creditor claims. By using entities like limited liability companies, trusts, and corporations, the wealthy separate their personal and business interests. This creates a protective barrier, ensuring that if one area faces legal trouble, it does not endanger their entire portfolio. They also use these structures to manage succession, ensuring assets are transferred efficiently and with minimal tax impact to heirs. Insurance, while less glamorous than investments, is a cornerstone of defensive strategy. The wealthy view insurance not as an expense but as a shield against catastrophic loss. They maintain coverage not only for homes, vehicles, and health but also for business operations, key personnel, and even potential legal claims. The aim is not to eliminate all risk, impossible in any venture, but to cap the potential damage so that setbacks remain manageable rather than ruinous. Diversification plays a role in protection as well. Concentrating all wealth in one asset class or market leaves it vulnerable to sudden changes. The wealthy spread their holdings across sectors, geographies, and investment types. This means that while one area might decline, others can offset the loss, keeping overall wealth stable. Diversification is not about chasing every opportunity but about building a balanced portfolio that can weather multiple scenarios. Liquidity is another subtle yet vital form of defense. Assets that cannot be quickly converted to cash can create problems during emergencies. The wealthy maintain a portion of their portfolio in highly liquid forms, cash reserves, money market accounts, or short-term bonds, so they can act decisively when unexpected expenses arise or sudden opportunities appear. This readiness prevents them from having to sell valuable long-term assets under unfavorable conditions. Estate planning is the final safeguard in the Wealth Protection Code. Without a clear plan, assets can become entangled in lengthy legal disputes or diminished by taxes upon transfer. The wealthy use wills, trusts, and succession plans to ensure their resources pass smoothly to the next generation or designated beneficiaries. This is not only about preserving money but about preserving the impact of that money, ensuring it continues to serve its intended purpose long after they are gone. Wealth protection is not paranoia, it is prudence. The same way a fortress is built with walls, gates, and guards to defend against attack, financial protection strategies create layers of security around assets. Growth without protection is like building on sand. It may stand for a time, but eventually the foundation will give way. The wealthy know their fortune is not defined solely by how much they can make, but by how much they can keep and protect over decades and generations. Taxes, legal structures, insurance, and diversification are pillars of protection. Liquidity ensures readiness for both emergencies and opportunities. Estate planning preserves wealth and its intended impact. What vulnerabilities currently exist in the way your assets are held, and how could they be reduced or eliminated? Review one area of your financial life, tax strategy, legal structure, insurance, or estate plan, and take one step to strengthen its protection this month. Chapter 11: Scaling Your Influence. Building opportunities that create more opportunities. Wealth grows fastest when influence expands alongside it. Influence is the ability to connect with people, ideas, and resources in ways that open doors to opportunities. The wealthy understand that money alone cannot create every advantage. Relationships, reputation, and reach often unlock gains that capital by itself cannot achieve. Scaling influence means building a presence and network that continue to generate opportunities, even without constant personal effort. Influence begins with value. Those who contribute solutions, knowledge, and connections become magnets for opportunity. The wealthy are intentional about being known for something specific, an area of expertise, a track record of results, or a distinctive way of creating value. This focus attracts people who need what they offer and who can, in turn, offer something of value back. Over time, the network becomes a self-sustaining source of new ventures, partnerships, and investments. Relationships are the infrastructure of influence. The wealthy treat networking not as a transaction but as a long-term investment. They build genuine connections, help others without immediate expectation of return, and maintain contact over years. These relationships often lead to opportunities that would never appear through formal channels: an early look at an investment deal, a chance to partner on a profitable venture, or access to influential circles that can accelerate growth. Scaling influence requires visibility. This does not always mean fame, but it does mean presence in the arenas where relevant conversations and decisions are happening. For some, this is speaking at industry events or contributing to thought leadership in publications. For others, it is participating in boards, charitable organizations, or professional associations. Each interaction becomes a touchpoint that increases awareness of who they are and what they can do. The wealthy also understand the power of leverage in influence. Just as they build financial systems that work without constant oversight, they create influence systems that operate even in their absence. This might be through content that continues to circulate, teams that represent their vision, or brands that carry their reputation into new markets. The goal is to extend reach without multiplying personal workload. Collaboration is a core strategy. By partnering with others who have complementary strengths, the wealthy amplify their impact and access new circles of influence. Strategic alliances can multiply opportunities far faster than working in isolation. They know that the right partnership can open entire networks in a single step, accelerating both financial and reputational growth. Importantly, influence compounds over time. The more consistent and valuable a person's contributions, the more others seek them out, which leads to even more opportunities to contribute and expand reach. This feedback loop mirrors the compounding seen in finance. Steady, meaningful actions create exponential growth in both reputation and opportunity. The wealthy are also careful about the quality of their influence. They protect their reputation as an asset, knowing that trust can take years to build and moments to lose. This means honoring commitments, maintaining integrity in all dealings, and aligning their public image with their true values. A tarnished reputation can close doors faster than any loss of capital, so it is guarded with the same vigilance as their wealth. Scaling influence is not about self-promotion for its own sake. It is about positioning yourself where you can see and seize the best opportunities. When influence is built on genuine value and maintained with consistency, it becomes a force multiplier. It brings people, resources, and ideas into your orbit, creating a constant flow of potential ventures. Like wealth, influence is most powerful when it generates more of itself. Influence attracts opportunities that money alone cannot buy. Relationships, visibility, and collaboration expand reach. A trusted reputation is one of the most valuable assets to protect. What steps could you take in the next 6 months to expand your influence in a way that aligns with your expertise and values? Identify one influential person or group in your field and take a concrete step to begin building a genuine connection this month. Take care and be well.